There's a moment that happened on a movie set in 1993 that the world wouldn't hear about for over 30 years. It wasn't captured on camera. It wasn't in the script. And for decades, the woman at the center of it chose to keep it entirely to herself. Sally Field was filming Mrs. Doubtfire, playing Miranda Hillard, the exhausted, exasperated wife opposite Robin Williams's unforgettable Daniel Hillard. The production was intense, physical comedy, tight schedules, a courtroom divorce scene that demanded real emotional weight. And then, in the middle of it all, Field's phone rang. Her father had suffered a massive stroke. He was gone. Field was sitting alone in a camper outside the set, having just taken the call, her entire world quietly collapsing while just a few yards away, cameras were rolling and a production schedule was waiting for no one. Her father had been ill for years, already in a nursing facility after an earlier stroke. Still, nothing prepares a person for that final phone call, the doctor's voice, the question about a resuscitator, the decision she'd already made in her heart. Let him go, because that's what he would have wanted. And then, because she was a professional, because the industry doesn't stop for grief, Field pulled herself together and walked back toward set. She wasn't planning to say anything. She wasn't planning to ask for time. She has said since that she came onto set, trying with all my might to act, insisting to herself that she wasn't crying, that she could push through it like she'd pushed through everything else in a decades-long career built on discipline and professionalism. But Robin Williams saw her. He didn't need her to explain. He didn't need a formal announcement or a producer's memo. Something about the way she moved, the way she held herself, told him immediately that something had shifted. Field has since described him as remarkably sensitive and intuitive, someone who could read a room and a person faster than almost anyone else in the industry. Without making a scene, without drawing attention to her in front of the crew, Williams quietly pulled her aside. Then he went to work behind the scenes. Williams approached director Chris Columbus directly and asked him to rearrange the entire day's filming schedule. The courtroom divorce scene they were supposed to shoot, the one requiring Field's presence, got pushed. Other scenes, ones that didn't need her, moved up in the queue instead. No dramatic announcement. No public acknowledgement of what had happened. Just a quiet, deliberate act of protection, engineered by a man most of the world knew only as one of the funniest people alive. It worked. Field got her day. She didn't have to perform grief-stricken small talk or explain herself to anyone who didn't already understand. She simply had space, carved out by someone who noticed her pain before she ever spoke it aloud. For over 3 decades, Sally Field never told this story publicly. Not in interviews, not in her memoir, not in any of the countless retrospectives about Mrs. Doubtfire's legacy. It surfaced only when she contributed to an oral history of Robin Williams's life and career, nearly a decade after his death in 2014. "I never shared this story before," she said simply, the weight of 30 years contained in 5 words. It fits into a much bigger picture that's slowly come into focus since Williams passed away. Lisa Jacob, who played his on-screen daughter Lydia and was just a teenager during filming, has shared her own memories of his quiet compassion. When she got in trouble at school for missing classes to shoot the film, Williams personally wrote a letter to her principal, advocating for her education and her budding career in the same breath. She's also spoken about how Williams was the first adult in her life to openly discuss his own mental health struggles with her, normalizing something she'd never heard spoken aloud, telling her she wasn't a freak for carrying her own private battles. Of course, there was also the Robin Williams everyone remembers publicly, constantly improvising, endlessly trying new bits to crack up his castmates. Field has laughingly admitted that his jokes never quite landed with her, that she'd sit stone-faced through his best material while everyone else on set doubled over laughing, driving him mad. By her own account, it took, of all things, a simple fart noise from co-star Pierce Brosnan to finally break her. But behind that relentless, chaotic comedic energy was a man who paid deep attention to the people around him, who could sense a colleague's private devastation without a word being spoken, and who quietly rearranged an entire production to protect her. Robin Williams made the whole world laugh for decades. But for one grieving daughter on a film set in 1993, his greatest performance wasn't in front of the camera at all. It was the quiet, selfless act no audience ever got to see, until now.